smelling right, luscious lips, dancing as you walk away. Hey, what's going on? It's the Big D. This is the Divorce News Daily segment of the Big D Show here on YouTube. So I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing to the video, commenting. We need to keep more of that up because it looks like YouTube is trying to shut me down. I'm noticing how it's like the algorithm is just dropping me down almost to like 0 views. I started with like 600-700 views on my shorts or whatever, and now I'm getting like 0. So it's like the algorithm trying to shut me down. But y'all can help me out by liking, subscribing, interacting. If you think like any of this has any value for you, let me know. Help me out so that I can keep on doing this, be motivated to keep on doing it. I'm gonna do it anyway, but help it out so that we can kind of get where we going here. We get to the finish line here. But we're gonna jump into some topics today. It's a Monday here, it's a holiday, but they let me in the building even though it's closed or whatever. So I may not be here all day, but I want to jump in here and get a few things done here. So I got a couple videos that will probably come from today's work. So let's jump right in without further ado and let's see what we got going on. All right, so from iDisc FLA in the Divorced Men Reddit, he asked a great question. He says, for average looking guys out there who successfully started dating again after divorce was finalized, what strategies worked for you? So, once you back out here on the scene again, you got to kind of figure out how you gonna navigate dating. How do you meet women? What happens, right? So let's see what he says. He says, I know there are a lot of guys on here who are part of the MGTOW movement. I've realized after several years, 3 to be exact, that I'm not one of those guys, even though I admire the efficiency and drama-free nature of the MGTOW lifestyle, the MGTOW lifestyle. Okay, so now we got iDisc FLA writing in the Divorced Men Reddit. He says, for average looking guys out there who successfully started dating again after divorce was finalized, what strategies worked for you? So this is an important question. What do you got to do to get back out there? How do you meet women? It's probably a very different age. If you're like in my age range, what he said, no, he didn't give an age range yet, but if you're in your 35 to 45 range or whatever, and you got married maybe in your early 20s or your mid 20s, it's probably a little bit different game out there now. So he's asking a good question, right? So let's go see what he says here. He says, I know there's a lot of guys on here who are part of the MGTOW movement. I've realized after several years, 3 to be exact, I'm not one of those guys, even though I admire the efficiency and drama-free nature that the MGTOW lifestyle provides. I'm really speaking to those of you who let yourselves go during your marriage, physically, financially, emotionally, and managed to climb out of that hole to improve yourself and start living your best life again while dating quality women. He says, in his case, it's been 3 years since his divorce. I'm in my mid-40s. See, that's what I was talking about age-wise, right? He's in his mid-40s, but he's also an introvert and works solo. The apps haven't been great for me. Okay, they've been awful. I'm an average-looking Cambodian American, slightly but not too overweight, and relatively short. Fortunately, finances are good, no kids, no debt, sold my small business, and can live anywhere. He's curious to know how those of you who successfully dated again and found good long-term partners have managed to meet quality women. So his options, he's like, move overseas, join meetups, attend religious services, double down on dating apps. Seems like dating nowadays is much tougher than 15 years ago, but I'm also older and less fit. He says he was formerly in the military. So he said, thanks for any insight. So let's see if we can give iDisc FLA some insights here. Well, here's my take on it, because I'm short, I'm slightly overweight, I'm probably an average looking dude. So, I'm a black guy too. So it's like, what are our options? So he's Cambodian American, so he's probably not the quintessential white dude, that's out there either. So he's probably in a minority the same way. So I'm in a minority, he's in a minority. And so I get it. I understand where you are. Trust me, there's There's plenty of women out there. If you got some confidence in yourself, and you are not, you don't just outwardly look crazy, there's gonna be some options for you. You don't really have to worry about that. Okay, one thing I would suggest is that you gotta get brushed up on the physical cues. If a woman smiles at you, if she is willing to speak with you or she greets you in a certain way, you can kind of tell in the eyes how she might be feeling you, right? If she's in close proximity to you, if she brushes up against you, if she touches you, there's going to be a lot of physical cues that are going to give you an idea that a woman might have an interest in you. So I would brush up on that. I would check out some videos on how to understand if a woman kind of likes you or has an interest in you. Not all those cues are going to be things that mean that she has an interest to you, but at least be aware that they may be out there, especially when a woman touches you, right? Women don't touch men that they don't like or they're not comfortable with. They're not going to reach out and put their hand on you if that's the case. They probably won't even brush up against you in any type of situation if that's the case. But if she's in close proximity to you or whatever, you're getting a vibe like just that you can conversate with her, what do you got to lose, really? Say hello. Say hello or whatever, and don't be awkward about it or whatever. You don't necessarily have to go in, hey, my name is this or whatever, what's your name or whatever. You don't even really have to go into that or whatever. Pick something in the room or pick something in the supermarket where you are, wherever you're at, or in a situation, speak on something that's going on. Say you're in a club or something, speak on the music or whatever. I don't know, this is my song or whatever like that, and or whatever, like, or I don't know, open it with something else other than you actually just attacking the let me get with you part, or becoming too close to her. That way you're going to be able to feel it out. You need some icebreakers and stuff like that to kind of deal with. And then, the other thing is if you're at work or whatever, you got to be real careful. I would probably stay away from somebody that I work with, unless it becomes really, really, really obvious that this person wants to date you or whatever, or may want to go out with you. I'd probably stay away from dating somebody where I work. But I think he said that he works alone. He works solo. Sounds like he might work remote or something like that. So he may not even have that option. But I'm just saying, for the guys out there listening, I think work is a terrible place to date, because you just never know how that'll go. I remember a story. I was married at the time, and it was my anniversary or whatever. So I took the wife and kids. We went down to Miami. And so we got off work because I lived in Orlando or whatever. Miami's only a 3 or 4 hour drive. So it's like I booked a hotel down there on the beach and all that stuff. And we drove down Friday after work. And I pull up, get ready to step out for the valet or whatever. I step out of the car. We're getting our stuff out. And I look at the next car over. And it's one of my good buddies from work. I didn't even realize he was going to Miami that weekend. He didn't say anything. And we end up actually pulling up at the same time. He gets out and it's like, hey, what's up or whatever. And then out of the passenger seats gets out a girl that we work with. And I didn't even know that they was talking to each other or whatever. So I was like, okay, whatever. Like, okay, it's a crazy way to find out. It's like we drove, 4 hours and end up in the same place at the same time or whatever. And then boom, that, it's a small world. But later on, it turns out that my guy Phil was a player. So, I guess they were at a hotel in Orlando or something. And he went down, I guess, to get a lighter for his cigarettes or something he had to get for his cigarettes or whatever, and messed around and left our work pager at the hotel room with her. The pager goes off and it's one of his little honeys. So she calls the number back, and then he couldn't come to work for like 3 or 4 days. Because she's at work. My man ain't gonna work for 3 or 4 days. I was like, so I learned from that experience. I was like, listen, man, don't date where you work at. Don't date where you get your money. It just probably not gonna be worth it, because if it falls apart, then you got a real problem. But like I said, brush up on those physical cues. She's gonna give you some indication that she likes you. And if it's a woman that you like and she hasn't given you that indication, I'd back off that shoot something over the bow a little bit just to see, shoot the little warning shot. Hey, I'm out here or whatever, and see what she does. If she doesn't respond, just move on. I think the best thing to do is just like move on. But I think one of the most important things is not to be afraid to shoot your shot sometimes too. Because really, what do you got to lose? Like, if you go up or approach a woman, or end up in a situation with a woman and you hollering at her a little bit, you kind of see what the vibe is or whatever. If the vibe is off or she's not really feeling it, then you can back off and, it's no harm, no foul. You didn't do anything wrong. You got this, you have the same thing that you approached her with before you got to her. You were confident you didn't have a woman. When you left her, you were confident you didn't have a woman. You got the same thing leaving that you had coming. So don't feel like being rejected is something that's, that's not normal or something that's not, or don't feel like it's something that ends your process of looking for somebody if you're really looking for somebody to be in your life. Think about it. You reject a lot of things pretty much all day, every day. You go into a clothing store and how many shirts do you kind of touch, look at, move, touch it, look at it, move, look around at it or whatever, and move it out the way until you find the one that you really like. It's the same thing with dating. There's going to be people that are looking for something specific and they're looking for something right in the range of what they want it to be. If you're not that person, you're just not that person. It might look like you're interested in the person, but you might be dodging a bullet at the same time. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. So, he did talk about letting yourself go during the marriage. That does happen. We get fat and happy and we don't take care of ourselves. We're not out working. We're not out working out or going to the park and running no more, that type of stuff. We may not be physically active, so we start to gain some weight. We're working more. We have stresses, especially if we got family, we got kids, we got a wife. We get stressed and we get tired, so we don't have the energy to do that. Plus, we're getting older, right? So the thing I can say is get back into some type of physical routine. When I found out I was getting divorced or getting separated, at least, I started running because I asked my ex what happened. She said, you got fat. So I went that night and started running. And I would go sometimes twice a day, especially in the early days, because, you're feeling the stress or the separation. All of this is new to you. And I just needed to kind of just get away, be out, be active, because that brought down the stress levels for me. Just the exercise will bring down your stress level. It'll kind of even out how you feeling. So I recommend that a lot. Change some things in your diet. Like for me, it was drinking soda, right? I used to drink almost like a 2 liter every single day, a soda. We'd go through soda at our house. So I stopped drinking soda for like 30 days and I ended up losing probably in that first 30 days, I lost probably a good close to 30 pounds. I think I was up around 233, 235 and I got down to like 199 or so. And eventually I got down to like 189, 179, something like that. I can't remember exactly where, but I lost a lot of weight. And I felt so much better, but I was going running. I was running like 3 times a week. I used to run in Cranes Roost Park right there in Altamont Springs. It's like 1 mile around. It's a man-made lake there. And the wonderful thing about that is like other people are doing the same thing. So you're gonna see women out there too. So you might see women while you're working out and that type of thing. If so, nothing like a man working on himself, is attracted to a woman. So she could see, okay, he cares about himself. He's trying to make himself better or whatever. So that might be something this guy could do. He was military, so I think he has the thought processes and the stamina to be able to go out there and work out and be active physically and all that. He's going to remember that, right? His memory is going to come back. Some of that muscle memory is going to come back. So I don't think it'll be a problem for this guy because he's got that experience, in his past. Your body tends to remember that stuff. I was always athletic too when I was young too. So it's like my mind just kind of reverts to that. Now I can't physically do everything my brain says I could do, but at the same time, my body kind of reverts to that kind of mode where I'm like, okay, I know how to push myself a little bit further. And when I get to the limit, I know how to push myself a little bit further. It's like whenever you're tired, you still got like 40% in the tank. Whenever you start to feel tired, there's at least another 40% in the tank. So that's the way I've always approached things. That's the way I approach things with sports and all that type of stuff. I used to be a sprinter, and I could long distance run too, especially when I was younger. It's like I could do long distance or sprint. I was quick too. So, and I played a lot of basketball, all that kind of stuff. So I was very, very active. Even being short, a short cat or whatever, I was still active and loved physical activity. So my body remembers that. Even though I don't have the ability to do everything that I did when I was young, I still have the mentality and the emotions for it. So I think that's important for him to remember too. Just get involved physically, start getting yourself together. And through that process, you might actually find someone. And he talks about religious services or whatever. If that's your thing and you're into religion and you're into the church or whatever like that, you may find somebody there. My background and where I come from, I think I touched on some of that in my first video, my personal experience getting divorced or whatever. I touched on some of that. I kind of have an aversion to it, and that's for good reason because of the way I was raised, and the things that I've gone through, that I've seen in it. But I was in a whole different situation than other people, so your situation might not be a traumatic one. So if you're into the church or whatever, you may find someone there because this is a person that may share your same sensibilities. They may share your same outlook on life. They may share your same outlook on the future. Your views on marriage might be the same. So that's a good place maybe to try to find someone, right? We know that there's a lot of, single mothers in the church and all that type of stuff. Like he said, he's not into this other movement, the MGTOW movement or whatever. I know a lot of times they say, oh, don't marry single mothers or whatever like that. But the reality is most of us are going to find single mothers. If you're looking for somebody, she's probably going to have kids, especially if you're 40 years old and you're looking in your age range, which is probably somewhere between 30 and 40. Normally we go low. If you're looking in that age range, what's the chances that she doesn't have kids or she wasn't previously married or whatever like that? So, it just depends on what you're looking for, right? If you're holding out and that's a deal breaker for you, there's no problem with that either. Find a woman that doesn't have children, but it's going to be a little more difficult. I'm just saying because of age and experience and what experiences she might have had, a relationship she might have had previous. Chances are they got kids by then. So that's what you're going to find in the church a lot of times. You're going to find people who might have been broken and they're using the church to kind of get themselves back together, right? So you have to be aware of that too. Now, has she been here all her life, or how did she end up even here at the church? People kind of tend to go through things, some traumatic things, and they end up at the church because they don't know where else to go. They turn to God, right? So, maybe that's why they're there, So you got to kind of vet that. I have a friend of mine who's dating somebody who's heavily in the church. Her family's heavily in the church. We went there the first time to meet her at church. And so, he's got a relationship with her, but her whole family's in it. She's been in it since birth, type thing or whatever. So it's not a thing where she's broken and she's just going in. She's young, as well. And so yeah, it works out for them. I mean, if that's your thing and that's kind of his thing, he likes that. So that's kind of his thing. And I think she shares his same kind of sensibilities. So yeah, I think that might be an option for you as well. He also talked about moving overseas. That's a possibility too, right? So I'm overseas, I'm here in Brazil. So, and I found someone that I think I probably can be with long-term here as well. We have our issues, ups and downs. It's the same as any other relationship. We've had breakups and getting back together type situation as well too. And I have certain things I'm not going to compromise on, certain things I had to bring to her attention, like this is not going to work with me or, or whatever. Certain things I've learned with her is how I got to deal with her. It's work. It's work. It's a relationship. It's a real work. So just moving overseas doesn't mean you're going to find somebody who's going to just kowtow to your manhood and just be like, oh, he's the man, so I'm just going to listen to everything he says and be submissive and all this stuff. All that stuff that these guys be talking, it's almost like it's like they haven't done it. So if you've been in a relationship, you know how this goes. It's going to be a lot like your relationships in the United States. These girls, they like to say they're westernized or whatever, but I just think it's just natural for women to kind of give you that pushback or whatever. But I will tell you something. here in Brazil that I found personally, even though you're getting that pushback, the little bit of difference is I think that they do listen to what you're saying, and they will acquiesce to what you're saying at a certain level. They might put up a little bit of fight, or they're going to have their say about it, but in the end, you're going to find out that they were listening. I mean, I found that, like, even with my girlfriend or whatever, even though she can have a little bit of feisty personality every once in a while or whatever like that, but she values what I'm saying to her. And you'll find out later when she'll say things to you or whatever, or you'll see a change in her activity that proves that she was listening. And so I think that that works for me. I like that. That's something that I haven't really had before. Another thing is that she's very compliments me a lot, right? She'll tell you that she's proud of you, or she thinks that you're going to be successful, and she wants the best for you, and she wants you to be successful, type thing. And she'll tell you all the time, and it almost kind of throws me off sometimes. She'll say, like, we're friends. And in my mind, in the Americanized mind, when you hear like, oh, we're friends, that means you're in the friend zone. But that's not what she's saying. She's saying that, our friendship even comes for our relationship. So the way that we treat each other is like friends would. But we happen to be in a relationship, like we have a bond, and we're actual real friends. And so she will say that, and it's like, and it kind of reminds me, it helps me, especially when you get in a tight spot, or you get in a spot where you're not seeing eye to eye or whatever like that. It's something good to remember. So that's where you kind of get the difference in women that might be overseas. Maybe it's just my woman, but from my experience here, that's kind of how things go here. So if you're looking overseas, I mean, that might be an option too. So dating apps, though, I definitely probably wouldn't go that route. What I've got from the dating apps are women that are looking for short-term gain. I was on the Tinder. What else was I on? I did Brazil Cupid before I came here. I did find the first girl that I dated here for about 8 months before I came down. And then I spent a couple months with her family. And she was on there, but then I think she was looking for a foreigner. And I think she was looking for a foreigner because she wanted to live in the United States, even though she said she did not when I asked her point blank, because I was headed towards Brazil. That's like the first question I would ask, because I'm like, it's no sense in me being with you if I'm coming your way to Brazil and your desire is to go to the United States. I'm not going to be in the United States, so what's the point of that? There's no point in us talking. But she said no or whatever like that, and we progressed or whatever. And after I left here, being here for a couple of months, within like 3 weeks or whatever, she's talking about she's getting married, and she ended up living in the States. She's in the States now. She has citizenship. She actually has citizenship now in the States. So I have another ex-girlfriend that I dated for 3 years online. When I moved here to Rio, she was supposed to come here. We were supposed to get married, and she blocked me on everything, disappeared or whatever, and she went to the United States and got married. She lives in Chicago. So what are you gonna do? This is the thing that happens, so you can't attach yourself to a woman so much that your life stops because she doesn't come through on what she's saying. But, with the overseas women or whatever, you're running a risk. And with these women on apps, you're running a risk because you don't know why they're really there. Most of the time when I've met women through apps, they're not there for relationship purposes. Somebody who's serious about a relationship, who wants to actually have something long term, they're not really there for that. They're there to see if you'll take them out to dinner. And a lot of them are selling sex. I had a girl, I'm like, hey, I'm just opening a conversation, whatever. This is kind of, me or whatever. We matched or whatever. This is, what I'm kind of looking for or whatever. I'm here in Rio. I'm trying to, get to know people. I'm getting to know other different things to do and stuff like that. And she replies 2 words, just sex. So what are you going to do? So I didn't reply to her because it kind of shocked me. I was like, I was new here and I just wasn't expecting that response to come so quickly. And it was just like, just sex and whatever. So she's looking for money. And there's plenty, like the majority of them that I see on there, that's what they're looking for. And I imagine it's the same way in the United States. A lot of these applications, you're going to be running into escorts and sex workers on there. So you have to be able to wade through all of that to get to somebody who's going to be worth your time and worth your effort, because these are very temporary, short-term, people in your life. They're going to be very short-term, temporary, and it's going to be expensive. It's going to cost you money. So I probably wouldn't go that route. It just hasn't been successful for me. The most I dated a girl that off in an app here. She was a Taiwanese girl. She wasn't Brazilian. She was from Taiwan or whatever, and that just turned into something crazy too. Like it just turned into her being very extremely possessive, and it just got to a point where it's like we can't do anything without each other. It's like, and she just became very overbearing or whatever. So there are going to be different personalities and things like that, that you're going to run into, but just it all these girls coming from online and finding them online just hasn't been my cup of tea. I think the best thing you can do is get around people. Go to parties, go to birthday parties, get invited to different places or whatever. When you're invited, go. You might meet somebody there who's single as well. And don't just latch on to the first girl that you meet. Get the information, talk to her or whatever, hang out a little bit, but keep it real loosey-goosey. You know what I'm saying? Keep it real loose, keep it real light. You don't want to be involved too heavily right away. You don't have to jump right in and within 4 weeks you're dating and you're going to be a long-term relationship, and then in 6 weeks you're moving in, and then in 8 weeks you're planning a wedding or something. Like, you don't want that, especially as someone who is married already. The second marriage happens very, very quickly for a lot of people. I think like 85% of people get married again after the first marriage fails, and they jump right back in. Like, there's a lot of people who jump right back into a marriage, and may not be the best situation because maybe you're jumping in for exactly this reason, thinking that maybe you won't be able to find someone else. Your fear of missing out on something, or maybe you're used to the comfort of having someone there, and then all of a sudden that person's not there no more, and now you feel like you need to jump on the first train smoking. You got to be comfortable being alone. I would say be comfortable being alone. Find things that bring you joy in your life. Jump into your work. He says his finances and everything are good. If he's looking for someone quality, it's going to take time. The biggest thing is this is going to take time. Don't worry about the time factor of it. He's still only in his 40s. So, I'm 53. I'm still kind of at it or whatever. I've been divorced since 2000. I think we officially finished 2010. We separated 2009, finished 2010. So we're talking, 15 years now? Still single. I do have my girlfriend now or whatever, and that might turn into something more serious because we were talking yesterday and it was like, wow, we've known each other for 4 years now. Kind of were together for at least 3 of those 4 years. So, so we're kind of getting there where I kind of know her. She kind of knows me. There's still things that I'm learning, still things I'm concerned about or whatever. I'm not in a rush to get married. I don't feel like I necessarily have to get married or even really want to, just from a legal standpoint or whatever, and financial standpoint or whatever. I want to know that that's going to be an all right thing for me before I jump into it. So, but if you're looking for that and you're looking for something a little bit stronger, a little more long-term or whatever, take your time. Just take your time and make sure that this is the right person. So we're going to end this one here. I didn't mean to spend like pretty much the whole time on this one, but I think we're going to cut this one here. Maybe I'll shoot another one today since it's a holiday here. And I ain't got nothing really to do. I'm going to be here just for a little while. Just wait for my girl to hit me up. I'll send her an Uber, whatever. She come down to the house and bring the dog or whatever, and I'll play with that little joker and who knows, go to the beach or something. Got something to do at 4 o'clock. So we'll see what happens. But once again, it's the Big D Divorce News Daily. I hope you got some luck finding the right girl for you. Peace. Smelling right, luscious lips.